Today on Tricrow Studios, for fun, chill out. We do a comparison between the 2020 Marshall Origin 50 and a 1969 Fender Bassman, which is also 50 watts. Okay, so first and foremost, I know, there's going to be some guitar nerds. I'm a guitar nerd myself that are like, yo, what are you doing? This hurts me. That makes me laugh. But I get it. It's modern amp, vintage amp, made in Vietnam, made in America. Just to point out as well, the 1969 version of the Bassman isn't the most popular. It's not the least popular or anything like that, but it's a silver face Bassman, which the black face Bassman is what it's all about, right? So with this video here, I do it more in mind of a prospective buyer of like a Marshall Origin 50. So someone who's, it's patterned after a vintage amp, which was patterned after a Fender Bassman. So you can kind of hear the modern take of a vintage amp against an actual vintage amp. That's kind of what I'm doing here. You'll also note that I always have the patch cable in there, so I'm jumping from the bass channel to the normal channel. I don't always have the bass channel on, but it's always nice to have that little bit of blending options. It will allow you to break up a little faster sometimes, and sometimes you just need that mid-low end push on a Bassman, and I just love that amp. Anyway, so when you're seeing that sort of thing, that is the idea of what's sort of simulated on the Origin 50 with the tilt control. So maybe keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm going to be grabbing 6 different guitars. I'll probably grab 2 Fenders, 2 Gretsch, and then 2 Gibson. And I'll go through some like clean, some breakup, and then some distorted tones. I'm not going to be doing any metal or anything like that. I'm not using any tube screamers, no reverb or anything like that. It's just the amps themselves. So anyway, let's get into it. Alright, so there you go. There's 6 different sound samples for each amp compared to each other. So clearly what you'll hear is the Origin 50 is a little cleaner than the Bassman. And as well, there's a little more high-end at times when you're listening to it versus the Bassman. The Bassman can be a little tough to somewhat dial in. I'm still new to the Bassman myself. Makes me smile when I think about it, but you know what, it can be a little tricky, especially if you're not using any pedals or anything like that, because one of the things that you'll notice is that you don't have like the different output stages, so you can't bring it down in wattage, so you can kind of not dime the volume, but bring the volume up higher and higher to actually get the breakup or any like real gain going through. So it can be a little tougher. Now, a lot of people with the Origin 50, if you are an Origin 50 owner, you would know this, but if you're not, you're a prospective one, then what you would be looking at is, because it has the low, mid, and the high outputs, that's your wattage, like your step wattage. I can't remember if it's like 5, 10, and 50, or if it's 5, 25, and 50. I'm not sure. You can look that up really easily on Google. But that's sort of, if you're on the low setting, you can dime your volume, and you can get really a big distorted sound through it, especially if you're pushing it with a tube screamer. You can get into metal territory. On the mids, it's a little less gain when you're bringing the volume up, and the same thing on the high output. So what you might find, it's an excellent studio amp, but in terms of a live player, if you're not using pedals, it can be a little tricky. It's not like it's not doable or anything like that, but to actually get the amp to break up, you have to have the master cranked a fair amount. And you know, if you want that volume, then you'd want to get it on either the medium or the high. And even at the medium stage, like on the last sound sample there, it would have been a little more beneficial if it was actually running at 50 watts with that sort of amp breakup, I guess you would say. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much at the end of the video, but again, with the video being more focused on comparing the modern Origin 50 to what its predecessors were kind of based off of, I just want to give as much information, I guess, as you can possibly give, really. Anyway, thanks for watching.